Okay, guys, I'm here for my second retro review of the day, and that is WCW WrestleWar 1992. This was the final WrestleWar, as it was not around in 93. In fact, I think in 93 they went from June till September with no actual pay-per-view. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, WrestleWar 1992 took place May the 17th, 1992, from the Memorial Coliseum in Jacksonville, Florida, yeah, interesting arena. So we start off the WCW United States Tag Team Championship match. Yes, WCW had 2 tag titles at this time. In fact, in 1991 they actually had 3 sets of tag titles. I mentioned in my WrestleWar 91 review, because they also had a 6-man title in 91. So, this is the Tailor-Made Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine, or Taylor and Greg Valentine, versus the Fabulous Freebirds. 2.5 stars. It's very formulaic, and it's a formulaic tag match, so thus, to me, that's average, so I'm giving it an average rating, 2.5 stars. And it also can be kind of boring at times, but then again, sometimes wrestlers from this era were just slower paced and boring. It's just the way wrestling was at times in 92. Finish comes, Jimmy Garvin goes to DDT Terry Taylor, Valentine comes in, gets backdropped, and then Garvin does hit the DDT on Taylor and gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. Now, it should be known that afterward, in the back, there's an interview, and the Freebirds win the U.S. title. Afterwards, they're talking to Missy, Hyatt, and Precious is there, who, of course, Jimmy Garvin's wife, who had not been seeing him in quite a while, but she didn't accompany him to the ring for some bizarre reason. So, 2.5 stars. So then we get Johnny B. Bad versus Tracy Smothers. 2-star match. Not bad. Could have been better, but not bad. Johnny Bad wins with his kiss that don't miss, closed fist, left hand or right hand. Which Jesse Ventura actually brings up a very good point. A closed fist is illegal, so technically that move is illegal. Thus, referee should not even count when the pin happens. Now, granted, it's kayfabe and it'll always happen anyway, but it's a key point that in wrestling rules, you know, closed fists are illegal. But then again, wrestling rules are stomped on more than tomatoes sometimes. Wrestling rules fluctuate a lot more in wrestling history than most things. So, So then we get Marcus Bagwell versus Scotty Flamingo. Who is Scotty Flamingo, some of you people may be asking? Well, for those of you who don't know, Scotty Flamingo is actually Raven, a very young Raven, before he actually found the gimmick that would make him the most famous he's ever been. And also before this, after this, he went to the WWE and managed the Quebecers as Johnny Polo. So yeah, he then went to ECW and found the gimmick that would make his career in Raven. This is a 1.5 star match. Finish comes with Bagwell hitting his fisherman suplex, but Flamingo gets his foot on the rope, and then they do this roll-up sequence where Bagwell rolls up Flamingo, but Flamingo reverses the roll-up, and then Flamingo grabs the tights and gets the win. 1.5 stars. So then we get a tag match that's not a tag match, as it's supposed to be Ron Simmons and his Junkyard Dog versus Cactus Jack and Mr. Hughes. Now, what happens in this match is Junkyard Dog is attacked by Cactus Jack. He's rammed into the rampway, and the Cactus elbows dropped on him. So Ron Simmons comes out by himself. And instead of making this a handicap match, which would make far more sense, in fact, Jason Ventura even brings that up, what it is it becomes a single match with Ron Simmons versus Mr. Hughes of Cactus Jack as Mr. Hughes' manager. Now, okay, here's the problem with this. Even if you were going to do that, you should send Cactus Jack back to the back, since he doesn't even have a manager's license, for starters. Yeah, again, I know wrestling kayfabe stuff, but Jason Ventura keeps bringing this up. Why is this not a handicap match? Simmons came out there, he acted like he wanted to face both of them, so why not make it a handicap match? Now, Jim Ross says that you can't make one man wrestle two, even though, again, it's happened quite a lot before. In fact, WrestleMania 5, two men wrestled three. So, yeah, it's weird logic of that sometimes in wrestling. But Ron Simmons beats Mr. Hughes with a chop block of all things. Yeah, a chop block. 1 star. So then we get Todd Champion versus Super Invader. And I don't know who the Super Invader was. I know it wasn't Big Van Vader because he's shorter and not as heavy as Vader. So I know it wasn't him. So, yeah, I don't know who this guy was off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up, and if I ever find out, I'll edit this video for the description about who it was. If I ever find out. Or if you want to tell me who it was, leave it in the comment section. I don't care. Anyway, this is a half a star match, which is basically a squash match. Even though Champion does get enough offense in to make it not a squash, but Super Invader wins with a power bomb. So I guess they were trying to set off that this was a smaller version of Vader that Harley Race had found. I don't really know. Then we get Richard Morton versus Big Josh. Again, half a star here. Nothing special. And on top of that, there's a botched 3 count in this match that you can clearly see. Big Josh hits his Northern Exposure finishing move, which is essentially what Earthquake did, minus the jumping around. And he goes and gets a pin, but you only see the referee, who's Bill Alfonso, long before he became the whistle-blowing manager of RVD in ECW. You see Bill Alfonso only make a 2 count, and the match just ends. So yeah, that's a botch, and it's half a star. The match is half a star, and it's half a star even without that. Even without that botched finish. So I'm not taking off because it would have been a half a star even with the botched finish. So, because the botched finish would have made it a half a star anyway, so it's half a star. Then we get a very good, in fact the next 3 matches are very good. They're the highlight of this show. As is the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship matches next. The WCW Light Heavyweight Championship was essentially the Cruiserweight title before they figured out how to work the Cruiserweight title. As it's Flyin Brian versus the Z-Man. It also had a 10-pound more for its weight limit of 235 because the Z-Man's in this match and he's 234. Now, Z-Man and Brian Pillman were friends and tag partners, so this is a story that logically should tell itself. And even Jesse Ventura brings up that in a match like this, one of these 2 goody-goodies will cheat first. Now, to the surprise, that does not happen in this match. Well, Z-Man does kick Pillman when he's down, but that's not technically illegal in a way. But anyway, this is a very good match. It's 4 stars. Finish comes when Z-Man misses a drop kick off the top, and then Brian Pillman jackknife covers him and gets the win. But this is a very good match. It's fast-paced and it's slow-paced at the same time. It's a very good match. It's kind of like the Cruiserweight matches from '96 that the WCW found a way to when WCW found a way to actually perfect this kind of wrestling. So it's kind of that. There's also some good spots in this, too. Like, there's one spot where Brian Pillman's coming off the top rope and Z-Man just kicks him with the boot. Not a drop kick, a just standing kick. That's an interesting spot. So then we get a #1 contenders match for the IWGP Tag Team Championship. I have no idea why, but whatever. As it's the Steiner brothers, who are the WCW Tag Team Champions, versus Tatsumi Fujinami and, I'm probably going to mess this name up, Takuki Iizuka. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I'm not good at pronouncing the majority of Japanese names. So, but yeah, this is a 3-star tag match. It's a good tag match. It's the best tag match on here of the 2 that are on here. Unless you count War Games as a tag, which it is, but it's more of a non-traditional tag. But finish comes when Rick Steiner takes Iizuka, who's wearing these hot pink tights, and he belly-to-bellies him off the second rope and wins the match. But a very good, solid tag match. 3 stars. Above average tag. It's not a 4-star tag match, but it is a very good tag match at 3 stars. So then we get to War Games, which I've already explained how these matches work, and most people my age know how War Games work. But just in case some people have not watched any of my War Games reviews, basically it's a double ring, 2-cage thing. Or you also could just buy the War Games DVD and see how this match works for yourself. But I'll explain how this match plays out as I go. How's that? And it's Sting Squadron, Sting, Nikita Koloff, Ricky Steamboat, Dustin Rhodes, and Barry Windham versus Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Larry Zbyszko. Now, I should say that they say that War Games is 7 periods. It's only 7 periods if there's 8 guys in the match, or 4-on-4. Being that there's 10 guys in the match, it would actually be 9 periods, because you'd have 2 additional periods that you don't have in a 4-on-4 War Games. So the 2 guys that start the opening 5-minute period are Steve Austin and Barry Windham. So I bet you guys didn't know that. I wonder how many of you actually knew that Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rick Rude are actually involved in a War Games in their career. So you know, Austin and Windham start for 5 minutes. For the opening 5-minute period, which is a very interesting thing because at that time it's the former TV champion Steve Austin versus at that time the current television champion of Barry Windham. And it's a traditional back and forth brawl in a cage and all that. Windham eventually busts Austin open. At the end of the first period, the coin toss is flipped and of course the Danger Alliance win. Because why wouldn't they? War Games, the way it's designed, has always been designed to favor the heels. Why? You get cheap heat on the heels while helping the baby faces get more over because they have a bigger obstacle because they're always having to periodically overcome every other period. They have to overcome a deficit of a handicap in a way, kind of like a hockey game, because that's where Dusty Rhodes got this from. Not that I would know about that, I don't watch hockey, so the Dangerous Alliance send in Rick Rude, who's the U.S. champ, and it's a traditional 2-on-1 beatdown for 2 minutes. Ricky Steamboat comes in to even the odds at 2-on-2. So then Arn Anderson comes in, and he's the 3rd man in the War Games. And it's ironic because in the first 2 War Games, he was the first one who started. Him and Dusty Rhodes started the most War Games together. Now, they started 40 War Game matches, but WCW only televised like 10 or 10 of them, so. But anyway, Arn Anderson's the 3rd in, and, 3-on-2 beatdown happens. Windham gets busted open in this whole scenario here. And then Dustin Rhodes comes in, and Ventura made a very valid point in that, being that Dustin was the least inexperienced and the youngest guy in the match, would he have the guts if it came time to where he was getting really beat up on? Would he have the guts not to surrender? Because, again, this match can only be won by surrender or submission, and only when all 10 men are in the cage. So the 4th guy in for the Dangerous Alliance is Larry Zbyszko in his 2nd War Games match, and again it's a 4-on-3 beatdown for 2 minutes. So then Sting comes in. Sting's the world champion with a rib injury from Vader, which in a way set up the match at the Great American Bash 92. That was set up all the way back in I think it was April when this happened, when Vader did that. So Sting comes in. It's the traditional stuff that happens when you get 4 guys in there. They pair off. Anderson gets busted open and all that. There's a lot of blood in this. There's a lot of blood in this match, which actually, in terms of a match like War Games, blood enhances. I'm not for blood, blood to me should only be something that works if the match or the story of the match warrants it. A cage match is very believable to have blood in it of any kind of a cage match. So it helps the cage match to have blood. because it's believable that there would be blood in a cage match because, you know, it's steel meeting your flesh and sometimes getting rammed and your face is being rammed against it and just like a cheese grater kind of thing. So it makes perfect sense that there's blood in this match. And there's a lot of it. There's Barry Windham, and then there's at least 3 Dangerous Alliance guys. So there's 4 people out of the 10 total in this match with blood. So the final Dangerous Alliance member is Bobby Eaton, who was in his second War Games. He's in one in 1989. And it's 5-on-4 traditionally. And then the last guy in is Nikita Koloff, and there's the biggest question that the commentators had is, will Nikita Koloff be loyal to his teammates? Because he was a former adversary of Sting, so people are wondering, could Nikita Koloff trust Sting? Turns out he did. He pulled Sting out of the way of an Dangerous Alliance ambush, took it, and then him and Sting fought off, I think it was Rude and Austin, but I could be wrong, and high-fived, and that got a big pop. So the finish comes when Larry Zbyszko gets this turnbuckle that had been successfully taken off this guy from the post. He picks up the steel hook that's connected to the turnbuckle, takes it, and he whacks Bobby Eaton with it in the arm, which then allows Sting to put an arm bar on, and Bobby Eaton surrenders, giving Sting's Squadron the win. Which is traditional, because other than both NWO War Games and the War Games of '91, while the heels always had the man advantage, the faces ended up winning War Games. So yeah, this War Games is probably the best War Games WCW had. But then I prefer the 5-on-5 War Games and the 4-on-4, which is from '93 onward, which is what it was, except for '98 when they totally messed over War Games completely. Yeah, it's a 4-star War Games. It's the best War Games WCW had at that point. In fact, I would argue it's probably the best War Games. And yeah, so this show gets a 19 out of 45. That actually gets it to a C-, a very high C- too, by the way, because it's only 3.5 stars away from being a C itself. So it's a very high C-. So it's just on the brink of a C show. But I would say this: if it didn't have the bottom 3 matches, this show would not be as good as it ended up being. So, those last 3 matches really bring this show up, because there's 2 4-star matches and a 3-star match in that last 3 blocks. You can't get any better than that. So this will be in the Retro Wrestling Review playlist. If you like the video, like button is down there, subscribe button is down there. The next Retro Review will be up tomorrow. It'll be a WWE review, because that's kind of how to do these. I don't know what show it'll be. I decide these retro reviews just based on what I want to do. So, if you like the video, like button down there, subscribe button is down there. Thank you for watching. Bye.